Hello, good evening, and welcome to GEOSCOPE on Politics Social with me, Graham Hughes, and also Ollie Bowler Hatman. How you doing, Ollie?
All right. Yeah. I'm coming to you today because unfortunately my Google won't activate my green screen. So
Last week you were on a boat.
You've got the most purest of green, as Lord Percy once said.
I feel like I should turn my fake background off in like solidarity, so we can just be in with we can both be green screen wankers together. So we've got a lot to get through. It's been a week. Oh my god. So where would you like to start? Do you want to start at Viktor Orban's failed peace mission?
Yeah, let's start with this. This shouldn't surprise anyone because Viktor Orban, of course,
is a
massively wants to do a deal in Ukraine in favor of Putin. That would, of course, be very, very bad for the Ukrainians. And to no one's surprise, he went and did a deal, or wanted to propose a peace deal. He wanted to be the great peacemaker and try and sort of end this conflict. And he went to see the Ukrainians. He went to see the Russians. And guess what he found out? That they're miles apart from each other, shockingly enough. Why the Ukrainians, as we said before, they want to sort of reclaim all their land. They want their territorial integrity restored. Russia, on the other hand, just wants more territory. And remember, recently, as Putin has expressed, a key factor he wants to say before actually beginning peace talks, so a requirement to begin peace talks, is to give up, or for Ukraine to give up, a load of territory.
A fifth of their territory.
Yeah. He wants basically just to retreat and pull out. And this is all territory that
would be like us giving Wales to the French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's of course, it's a complete non-starter. And Orban's like, well, I can't believe that both sides are just so far apart.
He's not the sharpest sandwich in the picnic, is he? I just want to say thank you very much to Puninator for the £2 super chat with a point of order. You know what it's going to be, don't you, Ollie?
Where's the bowler hat?
Yeah, where's the bowler hat? ... Man. Every time. I just want to say a big hello to everyone else in the chat as well. We've got Plum Duff in there. We've got Michael Warner. We've got Alec Barrett. We've got Vendetta is in there, and Tommy and Pete's Music and Tim That. And One Angry Pagan's in the chat. So is Emma Price and Sarah White. So hello everyone, and Alan Walker. And Blue Badge 88. So welcome one and all. If you would like to join us on this channel in the chat on the side of the screen there, just hit the subscribe button. Wait for about 30 seconds and you'll be able to join the chat. Don't be rude. Don't be mean. No bullying and no trolling, or we'll just kick you off. And you can watch us, but you won't be able to say anything. Anyway, so Viktor Orban, bit useless. Tell us more about this assassination plot, though. Because there's been one failed assassination that everyone's been talking about this weekend, but there was another one against a German industrialist. I feel like
such an assassination hipster. I really do. I feel like a complete hipster in all this. It's like everyone's been talking about, the mainstream assassination attempt on Trump. I'm here to tell you about this indie assassination attempt that happened by this little breakthrough act you might have heard of called Russia.
You liked them before they were popular.
Yeah. Exactly. This is honestly how it feels. Really, really does. I think this assassination attempt, forget all the stuff about Trump, this I think is the most important one that happened. And of course, what happened was that this was the CIA informed the German authorities that there was going to be an assassination attempt by Russia on the CEO of Rheinmetall. And Rheinmetall is one of the biggest German defense companies. If it's not the biggest, it is probably like the second biggest, but they produce armored vehicles. And of course, they produce a lot that are currently, of course, going to Ukraine, artillery shells.
But what would have happened if it had worked? Like if they assassinated the boss, surely they would have just got another boss. I mean, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be terrible for the person's family, is for the people working for the company and everything, but like, would it stop them? Would they be like, oh, okay,
No,
we're going to stop doing this now?
no. This really would not stop. Rheinmetall doing this. Of course, it would be a big blow to the company. Let's if you lose the CEO in this sort of fashion, of course there is going to be sort of complications, but they'll just move on to the next guy in line who's in charge. Things will carry on. But the point is here that this was a serious attempt on a German citizen's life.
Yes.
And there have been some of the German sort of political parties have responded to this. And luckily, all they've come back with is, okay, then we're going to give Ukraine more support. And
well, that's good.
That is, I think, something very, 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 very much needed in this time now, more so than ever. More worryingly, of course, is again this feeds probably into what we're going to be talking about later on. Big part of this, how Germany found out about this, was because of the CIA information sharing, and of course, what does Trump not want to do anymore? Information sharing.
So I just want to do NATO anymore.
Yeah, Germany would not have got this information. Who knows then what could have happened?
Yeah.
And it frustrates me. It frustrates me on such a fundamental level where last week we saw on Twitter and everywhere else, everyone was freaking out about the fact that, we're sending more Storm Shadows to Ukraine. Oh no, Starmer's going to start World War III. Starmer's going to start World War III. This is just escalation. Well, I'm sorry, but what you've had here by Russia trying to do this is a massive step in escalation.
Yes.
A massive step in escalation. And all these people who were panicking last week about World War III starting because, oh no, we were giving Ukraine more Storm Shadows, something which we've been doing for quite a while now, was going to start World War III. Well, what if this assassination attempt had succeeded?
Yeah.
That would be a German citizen being killed.
Yes. Which, we've already had a British citizen killed by Russian agents on British soil, and the British government did nothing about it.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson went to a Russian party, went to a Russian sex party with lots of very happy Russian hookers. Because Russian hookers are the happiest hookers you could ever meet. Also, I'm told. Anyway, they're just so cheerful. They've just got a song in their heart. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, Alec Barrett, thank you very much for the super chat. Despite my inappropriate joke, does Orban even like chicken gougians? I don't even know how to say it. Is that chicken goujons? I don't know. And we've got Sarah Davis saying, hello, Ollie and Graham. Hello, Sarah. We have Savac saying, think of a signal it sends. If you're the boss and your company does something Russia doesn't like, well, expect consequences. May make companies more timid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that was part of the message that they wanted to send. I absolutely think that was part of the message that they wanted to send over this. Couldn't agree more. It is trying to send a message. You work against us, then we'll strike back at you in some way, shape, or form. I think this was entirely part of a message sending operation because Rheinmetall also again recently just announced something again Russia would not want. First of all, they've set up a tank repair shop to help repair Leopards and light armored vehicles that Germany's been sending over to Ukraine. That's now established in sort of western Ukraine. You've also got them saying as well that they want to help Ukraine with their industry and their arms industry post this war as well, which again something Russia would not want. They do not want a more better prepared, supplied Ukraine. And to go back to Viktor Orban for a second, once again, Putin reiterated what he wants from Ukraine, which is a vastly, vastly reduced Ukrainian army able to defend Ukraine to a point where it's a walkover. They've got nothing pretty much to defend themselves. You
Yeah.
know, he wants to limit the troop capacity to something like 65,000. That's nothing to defend a country the size of Ukraine. That is
Which is
just
massive.
not enough.
Ukraine's like the size of Western Europe. It's bloody
Yeah,
huge. It is a
yeah,
very, very big
that is
country.
just not enough. They
Yeah.
also want to give them how many artillery guns? 12.
12.
Yeah, 12. That's all Ukraine would be allowed to have. 12 artillery guns.
That's not great, is it?
Yep. No tanks. And I think they said like a few armored vehicles, like 15 like light armored vehicles, the armored fighting vehicles, and that would be it.
Yeah.
5 jets, so no air force. It's purposely being set up for a war to happen in the future, and this is something worth reminding people that what the Ukrainians have been saying since day one, that one of the things they want after this is they want guarantees. This is why they want to be in NATO. This is why I think David Lammy, when he said we're going to look for a way for Ukraine to a path to join NATO, is really good. I think that sends exactly the right signals to Ukraine.
And a bit of a fuck you to Orban as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's a bit of a massive fuck you to Russia as well. I think that is something that we need to sort of do and sort of really, really work on. Make sure that they do get in. That makes sure that they are sort of in that they have those security guarantees, because the Ukrainians keep on saying we do not want to fight this war in another 8-10 years time. We do not want to be here fighting this again. We want those guarantees to make sure that Russia does not come back. And that is something Ukrainians have repeated almost since day one of this all starting. We do not want to be here again in 8-10 years, 8, 10, 15 years time of having to defend ourselves against Russia again.
Sorry, I forgot to press the play button, not the play button, the unmute button. Yeah, I was going to say, when we talk about peace talks and stuff with Ukraine, it's like this, isn't it? If Ukraine stopped fighting, Russia takes over Ukraine. If Russia stops fighting and goes home, the war just finishes.
Mm.
They're your two options. You have an occupied Ukraine, which the violence will continue, because of course it will, because they're not going to treat the Ukrainians very well. And or the Russians could just put down their guns and go back where they came from. Back over the mountains, back over the Urals, preferably. Far, far, far away in Asia, not our continent. Go away. Don't want you here in our arbitrarily drawn continent of Europe. But yeah, another thing, you know what I said about the British citizen who was murdered by Russian agents on British soil, Dawn Sturgis? There were also 10 British citizens in Malaysian Flight 17 that got blown up by Russian forces, Russian-backed forces. It was a Russian missile that blew up that plane, killing nearly 200 people from the Netherlands alone. I just, the fact that that seemed to go unremarked, unpassed. The last time a state blew up a plane was probably 9/11, arguably. Or maybe even going back as far as the Lockerbie Air disaster of 1989, when Libya was behind it. I mean, Russia did it and suffered bugger all consequences. They weren't stopped from having the oligarchs' money moved into London. They weren't stopped from buying property in Mayfair or in Belgravia. They weren't stopped from interfering in the Scottish referendum, in the British election of 2015, of the Brexit referendum of 2016. They weren't stopped at all. They were allowed to just do whatever they want. And then finally...
They've never taken, I think, the threat from Russia, I think, more seriously than we have sort of now. It is the it is something that has been a long time coming. There is a reason why London often was called, as a nickname of Londongrad.
Yes.
And this is something that should be acknowledged. It's something we should be, worried about, acknowledging. You saw right at the start of this, Boris Johnson was like, "Oh well, we don't want to start some, Russia phobia." Bear in mind, we're not starting Russia-phobia. We've got no problem with like Russian people. It is the fact that you have Putin and you have a regime in charge that is incredibly jingoistic, that would like to sort of, reestablish a lot of its, former imperial territories, wants to take back territory, would like to get Ukraine back in there. You've seen in these, in areas like Mariupol, where if you saw the report, I think it was in the Times, not too long ago, where you had them talking about, this is like the rebuilt Mariupol, and there's still buildings with which they say are quote done, but they've got a massive hole in the roof, exposed pipe works, all this stuff still in there, and yet of course it's cronyism, it's the corruption still inherent within the Russian state that has quote rebuilt Mariupol, and Russia is now sending Russian people in there to go and live as an excuse that should this war not go in their favor, they can just turn around. Oh well, we can't have all these people leave now. Look at all these Russians who miraculously popped up within the last couple of years. How did that happen? So there's a lot of stuff we need to really start taking seriously about all this. There is the whole what about the Ukrainian children that have all been kidnapped? How do we sort of go about getting those back?
That's another awful consequence of this war. The Russians have kidnapped thousands of Ukrainian children from eastern Ukraine, and they're being brought up by Russian families. And abuse that goes on in adoptions like this in the best of times is bad enough, but those kids are being brought up as Russians, and their foster families are not going to be treating them very well. I can tell you that now. We're talking about child abuse on an industrial scale, and that's what Russia has put into place. It is a monster regime. It is a regime run by monsters, and I just want them to be defeated, humiliated, shat all over. I don't want them to be a force for good or ill in the world. I want them to fuck off, go back into their little country, the biggest country in the world, and just leave everyone else alone, because they're meddling in the affairs of every other country in the world is driving me up the wall. And you know what? If it was America doing it, I'd say the same thing about America, or Britain doing it at this point. I'd say the same thing about Britain. It's just it's a disgrace that they have been allowed to get away with it. And they get away with it because people don't say anything. They're like, better not upset the Russians, eh? Better keep them on side. Yeah. Why? Because they've got oil.
Things you see as well. We can't do anything about Russia because they have nuclear weapons. Well,
bollocks.
If you go along with that argument, then it's like, well, Russia can have just whatever it wants because it's got nuclear weapons. You can't just let them bully countries about doing these things or all this, because we've said it, I don't know how many countless times. First, they will come after Ukraine. They will very, very likely go after either Moldova or Georgia, possibly quite likely next, if you've seen what's going on in Georgia at the moment, or the massively pro-EU protests that are going on over there.
Yeah, to
join, like Ukraine is part of the association agreement. They want to sort of go in that direction as well. Putin, once again, does not want that. Again, same for Ukraine. If this war sort of finishes and Putin installs his puppet government, then you can say goodbye to any Ukrainian association agreement. They will be forcibly joined, whatever wacky thing Putin can come up with, and that will probably mean that Ukraine economically gets controlled by Russia from that point. That will be incredibly hard to get rid of. Not only that, but you will have absolutely an incredibly brutal occupation of Ukraine. That is one thing. Absolutely, if Putin wins, there will be a massive.
The butchers of Bucha. The mercenaries going in and using rape as a weapon of war. We've seen it. They set up torture chambers for civilians. I mean, torture chambers in war was obviously against the Geneva Convention at the best of times, but against civilians. They tortured civilians to death in front of their own families. And everyone's like, oh, we need to appease them. And someone said in the chat there, who was it? Puninator saying, yeah, because appeasement's worked so well in the past.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. We need to stand up to bullies. And basically, if he's going to threaten to use nuclear weapons, we can threaten him. That's it. We've got NATO has expanded. Sweden and Finland are now part of NATO. Its border with Russia has extended thousands of miles as a result of Russia's incursion into Ukraine. And yeah, this needs to be done quickly because, as someone just pointed out in the chat, if Trump gets in, Putin wins.
Yeah, and bear in mind the guy who's just become Trump's VP, a guy called Vance, massively anti-Ukraine, massively anti-Ukraine, does not want to send any help or support to them. Also, massively against NATO as well.
Yes,
massively
Peter Thiel's little puppet, and also called JD. Isn't the president in the movie Idiocracy? Isn't he known by his initials? Isn't he like a JD or something, or DJ or I can't remember. Someone look it up. What was the name of the president in Idiocracy? Mike Judge's Idiocracy. Jane. It was saying about. Was it Jane saying about Trump and Putin? No, it's Plum Duff. Sorry, Plum Duff. If Trump and Putin join forces, we are stuffed. I fear. It's just the American government need to be doing stuff now, and they're not. They're sitting on their asses, not doing what needs to be done in order to protect America, the West, the world.
I think it's well worth repeating the fact that Trump has this plan to end this war in 48 hours. We still don't know what that is.
Yes, it's to give Ukraine to Russia.
That is very likely. It will just be a completely abandoning of Ukraine. There'll be no more anything like that, any support, any weapons or anything like that going. Any help support they're getting will be cancelled.
Yeah.
And it'll be an attempt to force them into that. And what has to happen then is what I've said throughout all this, whenever we've had these types of conversations. At that point, all of Europe has to come together and really come together to help support Ukraine. That has to happen. Otherwise, this will have even worse consequences, because just last week I was telling you about Trump trying to interpret Article 5 and what that actually means America has to do.
Yeah.
I fear certainly that if, let's say Ukraine loses in this, Trump wins, and Putin wins as well, there will be an attempt by Russia to test Article 5.
Yes.
I really do believe that.
Yeah,
Russia will not take
absolutely.
land. They will not try and sort of conquer somewhere like Latvia or the Baltic states. What they will do is they will test Article 5.
Yes.
And if Article 5...
They will invade Lithuania. What they'll do is that corridor along the border between Lithuania and Poland, leading to their exclave of Kaliningrad, they will go into that with military, and they'll shoot anyone who goes near that road, cutting Lithuania, an EU member, off from Poland. And close down those borders. You won't be able to get across. If you go anywhere near it, they'll shoot you dead. They'll shoot your family dead. And then, they might rape you afterwards. If you're unlucky, they might rape you before. Because that's the way that the Russians seem to do things. Because I'm sorry, and I know it's going to sound very incredibly Russophobic, but their army is made up of mercenaries and criminals who don't seem to give a fuck about international law or the Geneva Convention or anything like that. And we're all fighting with one arm tied behind our back, saying, "Oh, you shouldn't launch any weapons at Russia itself, though, because that wouldn't be nice." I'm like, hang on, Russia started this. It's up to Ukraine to end it, and we can help them to do that. And if we can, we bloody well should. But what is around the corner? And I can't believe that more people aren't literally up in arms about what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, because it's been going on now for over 2 years, and it's absolutely thoroughly disgusting. So yeah, I'm immensely concerned, and I think that the American government now needs to start putting things in place. Because, like arresting the members of the Supreme Court who were obviously compromised and putting them in a box in Guantanamo Bay. And probably Trump as well. Talking to Trump, Jack Black's he's cancelled the Tenacious D tour, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Because his buddy made a joke about Trump getting shot, which is unacceptable. But you know what is acceptable, Ollie? A few days after Nancy Pelosi's husband was tied to a chair and attacked with a hammer in his own home by an intruder screaming, "Where's Nancy?" Donald Trump's son thought it would be funny to put a little Halloween joke on Twitter with a hammer and a pair of underpants, saying, "This is my Halloween costume. I'm going as Nancy Pelosi's husband."
Every single Republican commentator at that time was going around saying, "Oh, you don't understand. The whole thing of this, Paul Pelosi is secretly gay. He's secretly gay. This is why this all happened. It was just a lover's tiff. That's what really happened." But that's what they were saying at the time of this, and this was again an act of political violence.
Yes, horrific political violence
by the right every single time. The last big, since January the 6th, there have been a couple of right wing attacks. There was it Gabby? Was it Gabby Gifford? I think it was. A kidnap plot foiled, I think, to kidnap her.
Wasn't Gabby Gifford's the Arizona senator who was shot? She had to learn to walk and talk again.
Yeah, that was it. She was shot, but there was another someone else who was going to be like kidnapped, and that was a right wing plot as well. Interestingly enough, by the way, I was watching some of the highlights of the first day of the Republican National Convention, and turns out they had a bit of a teleprompter fail, and the teleprompter uploaded the original speech that they'd intended to give before this assassination had happened. And of course, what was it full of? That the Democrats are awful, horrible people, that they are going to destroy democracy, that they are bad people, and that something has to be done about them.
Fight like hell.
Yeah, that's another thing.
The Capitol building.
Political violence, and Trump starting that whole thing of going, fight. Well, hold on a second. Fight who?
Yes.
Who are you? Who are you meaning?
Police.
Who do you mean we have to
police
fight?
At the Capitol? These Republicans, these USA people, thinking that it's great for a bunch of lunatics to run in and kill a couple of police officers. And they go, "Oh, it's just the same. It's just the same as when Antifa have a riot." And I'm like, it's not really the same, because if it was Antifa riot in the Capitol building, that would be everyone turning against Antifa. Everyone on the left would have dropped them like a hot rock. Like, it's not the way that we on our side do it. But they think that political violence is acceptable and funny until it happens to them. And then suddenly it's not acceptable and it's not funny in any way, shape or form. I mean, the first thing I did when I heard about it was I told a joke to the people around me, because I knew that I wouldn't get away with it saying it on the internet. But to be fair to me, I did the same when Princess Diana died. So, it's just what we do, innit? We just tell jokes about stuff that's happened, even if it's awful, because it's the only way to get through it. Yes. Michael Warner in the chat, you're very right. As everyone, the chat's very heavy today and can be upsetting. If anyone needs support on any of these topics we discussed, please speak up. We're here to support each other. Michael's absolutely right. And if you want to join us on the Discord server, there's a really good community on there. I need to be getting on that more. I always say this, but I keep saying this as well. I've been a bit under the weather the last week and a half. I'm still not quite there. I'm still drinking Lemsip. I know it says Tory Tears on my cup, but it's actually Lemsip.
It's actually Tory Lemsip.
Tory Lemsip.
Tory Tears flavoured Lemsip.
So we talked a little bit about JD Vance, this new pick for vice president. And the reason why he can't go with Pence is because Trump tried to kill his last vice president.
Yeah, I don't think the MAGA crowd would actually quite like another Pence pick. So they had to go with JD Vance. But as people have been accurately quite pointing out, turns out JD Vance had a lot to say about Trump, calling him America's next Hitler. really criticizing him for all the crimes and all the other stuff that has come out. But he picked JD Vance partly because JD Vance is sort of what you would call a neo-reactionary. Everything that you've seen, sort of the worst affections of the Republicans come out. He is the absolute full embodiment of this. He is against any kind of extra healthcare in America passing. He is against all the Black Lives Matter stuff. He is against sending any aid to Ukraine. He is against NATO. Pretty much he's against quite a few things. It would almost be easier to list the things he is in favor of. But this is why ultimately he really went with, I think, JD Vance, because he is one of these individuals. And of course, this, as we've talked about before, this fits in perfectly to the whole Project 2025 agenda.
Yes.
So this is, again, going to be one of the big...
He wants abortion to be forced, illegal, even in cases of rape and incest. Like, how can a woman in America vote for that? How can a man who's married to a woman or has daughters or has a mother vote for that? How? I just, there's millions of them who are going to vote for that. They're going to go, yes, I think that women should be strapped down to a bed for 9 months and forced to give birth. Because banning abortions doesn't stop abortions. It just stops safe abortions. And as always with these fucking issues, the rich get away with it. If you're rich, you can fly to Mexico. Job's done. Fly back that afternoon, have a pina colada. Everything's good. And if you are not, if you're working class, you're stuffed. And that goes for Brexit, goes for abortion regulations, it goes for the tax codes, it goes for absolutely everything. And
again, we should also bring up the fact something else someone's brought up in the chat as well. The Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy.
Oh God!
It's now pretty much, I think, fully confirmed after the video that's just come out today of him having a phone call with Trump, that the only reason he is running as a third candidate is to be a spoiler and pull votes away from Biden. Yeah, that is the whole reason. That is why he's there. And there's a lot of worrying situations where people have been looking at him recently. He's doing a lot of damage to Biden in a lot of these areas. Yes. And that's worrying. That is very, very worrying.
He's getting all of anti-vaxxers on his side.
Last week I was the one who was like, I'm being very calm about this. I still think Trump does have a lot of issues, but I think unfortunately now, Trump goes back up from where I thought it was, roughly around maybe about a 30% chance of winning. I think this is now back into sort of 50% territory. I think this becomes a very, very close race in a lot of these states. And the worrying thing is this then goes to the courts, or this goes to the Supreme Court. Well, who controls those courts? Mostly it's Republicans. We've also got a side who has been really, really hammering home the fact that if Trump doesn't win, there is going to be violence.
Yes.
You've got the guy who's behind Project 2025, who openly said, this, if the left lets it, this will be a bloodless revolution.
Yes.
That says it all, really, what's at stake.
But you hit the nail on the head there where you said he's got the courts on side. Alec Barrett, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. It's a religious thing, enough said. Yeah. The thing is, I think that Trump's chances of becoming the next president, maybe not president, maybe just Führer, leader, dictator, king, whatever you want to call him, is 100%. I think it's nailed on. The only thing that can stop him now is what happened at the weekend being a little bit to the right. If we can put it like that to get around the censors. He has the Supreme Court behind him. Okay, so I'll give you an idea of what could happen. And I think that our failure to see that he would win in 2016 and our failure to see that Brexit would win and the failure on the left of people who were really supportive of the previous leader of the opposition who could not see any way that Boris Johnson could possibly get an 80-seat majority when all the polls said he was going to get an 80-seat majority, because he said he's such a terrible person. And he hid in the fridge. And he lied to the Queen. And he cheated on his wife while she was getting cancer treatment. And I'm like, yes, I know all that. And so do the people who vote for him. And they don't give a fuck. They don't care. So he's still going to win. And he did. So what I say now is, if Trump doesn't win in November, and you're right, it's 50-50 at the moment, but if he doesn't win, he will get some fake electors together from the states that he didn't win to go down to Washington on the first Tuesday of January or whatever day it is that they have to confirm the votes. And he's going to have his people go into Congress and say, right, we're going to, this is who we voted for. We voted for Trump. We didn't, our state didn't vote for Biden. And if anyone gets in the way, he will unleash a mob on the Capitol. There will be fighting because don't forget, Biden will still be president at that point. So he will call in the National Guard, but it'll be a bloodbath, mate. You think about thousands of MAGA Republicans turning up to Washington, D.C., armed to the teeth. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
It's going to be horrific. And then, once everything's once it's all over, Trump is going to declare himself leader of America, and the Supreme Court is going to give him the instant thumbs up. Yes, you are for life, president for life.
Yep.
And because
this is why if this is a close election, I fear it's going to be a close election. Trump will generally do everything in as he can to try and
even if it's not
secure his win. He really will.
He can. The thing is, because the way that the Supreme Court is currently set up and the rules that are set around the presidency in America, he can take the presidency by force using this fake electors wheeze, and then after the event, the Supreme Court can say everything he did was legal. The fake electors were legal because they have the power to do that, and they can say that he's not responsible for murder of any of the people who died, when there are hundreds of people who died in the Capitol that day, and as leader, he has now got the right to pardon all the people who were committing the crimes in the Capitol and imprison the people who he doesn't like all of the Democrat Party, who will all be put to death or sent off to an internment camp. And don't say this can't happen, because it's happened literally thousands of times before in human history. And people go, oh, it couldn't happen here. Couldn't happen. It could. It absolutely could. Britain could have fallen to the fascists in the 1930s easily, with charismatic posh boy leaders like Oswald Mosley staring up the working classes, saying, "Oh, the problems in your life are caused by all these immigrants coming over from Eastern Europe." Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yep.
So yeah,
it is a really worrying time. This is why I am really hopeful about the talks about a European Defence Pact that.
Yeah, we're going to need it.
We've heard Lammy talk about that. We've heard Ursula von der Leyen sort of talk about saying, if we are going to sort of do a defence pact, then that has to include countries like the UK in this as well. If America does go in that direction, if they do go in the Trump direction, we as Europeans have to come together and we have to stand as one, because guess what? Fascists do not like that when we stand as one, when we are united, because as we've seen in France, when the left was united, they beat Le Pen. When Poland was united, they beat their far right party. Where we were in our recent election, we all came together. We voted tactically. We booted out the Tories. It is a repetition that is constantly repeating that you beat all these people by coming together, working together, and beating them. And if we do not do that, if Europe does not do that, we're going to have problems. We're going to have serious problems.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with you on that. Kendo in the chat is saying, will Stormy Daniels be the new Eva Braun? No, mate. Marjorie Taylor Greene will be the new Eva Braun. Did you hear her speech today at the Republican National Convention?
Doesn't surprise me. I haven't seen it, but I've heard things about it.
She's honestly, mate, she is a few sandwiches short of a picnic, that woman, but she's dangerous with it. So it is a bit of a worry, to say the least. People are having their messages censored on the chat here. I think that YouTube have probably put up their sensitivity settings because of what happened at the weekend. Because they don't want, MAGA Republicans being nuts at them. Clupid Bluro Pope says, I actually don't care anymore. After being fooled into think Labour would change things, I'm numb inside. Well, Labour have changed a lot of things. And this show we're not talking about.
Very good things happening like the first 2 weeks. Do not be put off.
Yeah.
And I said this when we heard about the whole puberty blockers thing that's happened. We've got a brand new government who is not as ideologically fixed to this as the Conservative is. So I really do believe that there is every single chance that we can change their minds. And we have seen, even in our own chat, people are now mobilizing to go and, fight this battle. And I really do believe they will have a very, very good chance to go and change those hearts and minds, because we have a new government. They are not as ideologically sort of fixated as we've seen the Conservatives in a number of these areas. There is every reason to be really, really hopeful of this. Yeah. And remember,
still massive stupid misstep by Wes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wes Streeting, who can just absolutely go to hell right now for what he's done. He is such a fucking idiot. I mean, that is, in the first week of the administration, going, do you know what we need to do first? What is it, Wes? Is it to build those 40 new hospitals that never got built? Is it to get down the 6 million people on waiting lists for the 7.4 million operations? Is that top of the agenda, Wes? No, there's a handful of children who are being given puberty blockers. Yeah? And some of them are trans. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop the trans ones getting it, but not the cis ones, because it might be dangerous.
Yeah.
Surely if it's dangerous for the trans ones, it'll be dangerous for the cis ones as well, Wes? Am I being a bit... Do the angels know? Do the pharmacists?
Michael Warner brings this up in chat. I absolutely agree. There is more than Wes Streeting in the Labour Party. There's over 400 MPs on this. And
there's MPs who are pissed off with him.
Start winning their hearts and minds and getting them changed over on this as well. And I really do believe we can do that. I really do believe that is going to happen.
Yeah, there's MPs like Stella Creasy who have already spoken out against it, just going, what the fuck? What are you talking about? You absolute lunatic. Bad Wes, says Leanne Scott. But yeah, you're right. There are 411 Labour MPs, I think, and Wes Anderson. Stop calling me Wes Anderson. Sorry, I'm stuck with myself. Wes Streeting is just one of them. Paul says he will not last in that job. Just shameful. Alec Barrett says, I'm going to tattle on Wes to Private Eye. Please do. Yes. Get him in the Private Eye. Never got anywhere without me Private Eye. So thank you very much for the super chat there, mate. Putting that twat in charge of the NHS was a mistake too. I mean, he was disliked by some doctors and nursing groups before the actual election. I don't think this is going to go down well with many people who are already waiting for Labour to make a big F up. And then you've also got Vaughan Gethling, who had to resign today. Within minutes of Gareth Southgate resigning, it was crazy. It was like 20 minutes. There were 2 massive resignations. This is also a big test for Starmer in Wales. But is Wales counted as GEOSCOPE territory? Because it's technically a different country. Got its own flag.
Technically not. He's part of the UK.
Pete's Music saying, thing is, I'm actually deliberately trying to avoid getting censored. Sorry about that. Labour have only made one mistake in Wes, but it's so much better than what we had. It's from Rufus. Absolutely. I do feel like this is something that we are, and we know in our groups, like, we're going nuts about this, that we're going to make sure that Wes has to answer to. Yeah. He's got some serious questions to answer, because he's saying that the cast report says something that's not in the cast report. And we know he's had a meeting with J.K. Rowling, who's like, she a doctor? She a nurse? What? Has she got years of healthcare profession under her belt? No, she hasn't. She's just some woman who wrote a book. She doesn't like trans people. Tommy says, can't Starmer remove the whip from Streeting? Well, I mean, that would be the nuclear option, but he's a government minister, so the first thing they'll do is just take his ministry away from him and he'll become a backbench MP. Has Rachel given him a black eye yet? Says Billy. Not yet. One of your begging says, Corbyn didn't make it, so I wanted to lead the party, as most MPs aren't like him or Streeting. And there you go. And Sarah's saying, yeah, that's right. Just one mistake that completely ruins the entire way of life for trans people. No issue at all, really. Good grief, guys. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying this is a major fuck up by Labour. Like, please believe us when we say, yes, we understand the gravity of the situation. But at the same time, we're saying this is one idiot's idea of a good time. And I don't think it's going to be followed by Labour policy going forward. But we'll see. Super Tiny 808 is saying 2-child benefit cap. Again, another bit of madness. I think it's just said they're going to get rid of it now instead of fannying around. And it's kind of painful seeing Angela Rayner having to say, as a working class woman, having to say, no, we're going to keep this. Because the economic
I've said before, I think, I did a video on this. I think at this moment in time, when it comes to this, they've got to be careful of, especially like the Labour left, spending all their political capital almost immediately as soon as they've come into power. What they should be doing is, rather than sort of, putting this as an amendment or anything like that, they should be coming up with a plan, because remember, this is going to cost, 3.6 billion, I think.
Yeah, and it'll also lift millions of children out of poverty.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to have, we know it's got good outcomes, but you've got to be able to go, well, okay, how are we actually going to pay for it? We've got to
borrow the money at the Bank of England.
Go dividends tax. Maybe we raise the dividends and things like that. Find a way.
All the taxes. They're in power now. Yeah, no one can stop them.
This is it. We are in power now. There comes a point where you have to stop thinking about protesting, because Labour is in power. Come up with ideas. How is policy going to enable this? How do you do policy in such a way that this enables to Labour go, okay, excellent. This is going to do this, which means this pays for the 2-child benefit capital lifted. Excellent. Crack on. Let's get it done. That's what I would rather see at this point, rather than spending all political capital to, where they could be spending it, further down the line. Maybe, there's all kinds of stuff that they should be doing and thinking about right now, and thinking strategically long term, because you're going to be in power for the next 5 years potentially.
Yes. Yeah, but this is it, Ollie. They should be. They've hit the ground running on a lot of things, like stopping the drilling in the North Sea. Brilliant. They just stopped it straight away. They got rid of the ban on onshore wind farms straight away. Brilliant. Great. Good stuff. Keep going. They're in, like you just said, they're in for another 5 years. Like, honestly, no one's going to remember what they did in the first 2 weeks. In 5 years' time, everyone's going to be talking about something else. So to do these two things, or like the child benefit cap, like, you could argue, okay, the money's not there. The money could be there. Let's face it. When we say that the government debt is X amount, it's only debt to the Bank of England, which is essentially an arm of the government. So whatever. But yeah, the magic money tree is there if they want to pluck from it, and it could lift millions of children out of poverty. And that's what I'd like to see. And as for the puberty blocker ban for like a handful of children, literally a handful of children, it just seems cruel, needless, sadistic, and continuing a last-minute emergency bit of Tory sadism, which I don't really understand why Labour felt the need to continue that. Well, Wes Streeting, it seems to be very much down to him, but he has not made any friends doing this, because J.K. Rowling wasn't even supporting Labour anyway in the run-up to the election. She was like, no, they don't have my vote. I'm like, okay, well, what were you asking her questions for? Do you know what I mean? Like, why even listen to her? She's not going to support your party, and she's just going to be horrible. Alec Barrett says the Senate has to survive till the 24th of August for the PR changes to come into effect. Thank you very much for the super chat there, and the info. Info is always good. And Anthony Fisher, did you see the Trump Pro 2025 anti-trans video? I didn't. I probably don't want to, but I'll try and I'll dig it out and watch it. And God, it's so depressing. And GHK, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. 250,000 children out of poverty, priceless. I agree, 100%. But one of the reasons why we changed the name of the channel was because when Labour were in power, we didn't want to be a mouthpiece for the government. We didn't want to be a fan site for the government, because, they do something wrong. Yep. We want to be able to call it out and say, "We're streeting. What the fuck are you doing, lad? Hey. Bloody haunted ventriloquist dummy." Anyway, we've got one last story to go through. We've only got 7 minutes.
I would say, I would call him Wayne's favorite word, but we are live streaming.
Yeah, we are live streaming. Don't get too demonetized. Okay, so last story of the night is Elon Musk versus the European Union. Who do you think is going to win?
Oh yes,
give us the background. Give us the background. What's all this about?
I've been looking forward to. So when
it's just funny when a Yorkshireman gets excited about something. I always assume it's going to involve whippets somehow, but
whippets! Don't get me talking about whippets.
Oh, the whippets! Go on, tell us what's going on.
Next time I need to have like my invisible whippet. Down, boy, down. But yeah, this is of course the ongoing talking about when Elon Musk bought Twitter. He got into quite a bit of argy-bargy with the EU over their Digital Services Act, or the DSA as it's called. The DSA, just a quick TDLR, very, very much all about digital services that are sold to people that have to be sort of open and transparent. Basically, a ton of rules and regulations about how digital services should be sold to people and what people, have rights and so forth, things about that. Of course, one of the things that Musk has been selling is the whole blue tick marks, and that has not been the most transparent way in sort of selling these things. And now the EU sort of wants to have a closer look at these things, and Musk isn't too happy about this because ever since he bought Twitter, he has been very, very secretive about what's been going on in the background. And in fact, something worth pointing out today, Threads apparently has now surpassed Twitter in average user count. So, go join on Threads, people, because Threads is a so much better and nicer place.
Yeah, it is a nicer place.
But yeah, Twitter, again, foiling complete hell site now. And he's now getting into an argument with the European Union over their digital chair. They had this big argy-bargy on Twitter, surprise, surprise, where Elon Musk had insinuated that the EU wanted to force him to sign this secret agreement to
illegal secret deal to censor people who are trying to be not woke.
Yep.
Because that sounds like something that the EU would bother doing.
Yeah. So this is what he said, and of course they I can't remember who the guy is, the digital commissioner. Can't remember the name now, but I'm sure someone will remind me in chat. But they came out and said, no, with the EU, we don't do things in secret. We don't offer these secret deals. He also said
Thierry Breton.
Elon Musk also said that apparently all the other social media companies had signed these secret agreements as well, apparently. But again, no evidence that there are these secret agreements or anything like that. So now it looks like that Elon Musk is about to go to the court against the EU, and he is about to have a very, very, very bad time against the EU, and it is going to be glorious. So it is going to be absolutely glorious.
Yeah. So what Thierry Breton wrote is there has never been and there never will be any secret deal with anyone. The DSA provides X, Twitter, and any large platform with the possibility to offer commitments to settle a case. To be extra clear, it is your team who asked the Commission to explain the process for settlement to clarify our concerns. We did it in line with established regulatory procedures. Up to you to decide whether to offer commitments or not. That is how rule of law procedures work. See you in court or not.
Yep.
So so it's going to court. It's definitely going to court.
Potentially, we don't know yet.
We don't
Elon
know
Musk right back down. I will see, but this is the first time he has had this encounter. This almost happened not too long after he bought Twitter initially. He nearly went to sort of court against the EU, but he sort of backed down. But now, once again, we're at that point where this could go to court. And I really, really hope it does. Please, Elon,
Please lose all your money.
Pick my day, please.
The thing is, it's not his money. It's not his. It's not his money. It's Saudi Arabia's money. It's like Peter Thiel. It's not his money. It's Dubai's money. All these fake billionaires, they're being propped up by the oil barons, the Harkonnens of the Middle East. And so they don't care. That's why he can spend $44 billion on buying Twitter, which is worth about £2.50. He doesn't care. It's not his money. That kind of money, like, it could solve all of the poverty in the UK. That money. That's it. It's gone. All the poverty in the UK gone. Or any given country, I think. But instead, he spent it on a. It was like, when you're drunk and you buy something online. That's what he did. He was stoned and he thought it'd be a good idea to make a joke about buying Twitter, or he was off his tits on ketamine or whatever the hell he takes. Michael, can you invite Rachel onto Morning Brew tomorrow to discuss wedge treating in more detail? It would be great to get her view on it and have a more detailed discussion. Well, Michael, I can do you one better. Rachel and I will be doing a special episode of The Intersection live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. So please come along to that. We'll be doing it on this channel. So, and we will be discussing wedge treating and the puberty blockers ban and just how outrageous it is and what we're doing about it and what other trans groups like Transactual are doing about it and the Good Law Project, etc. Obviously taking the government to court at the moment because this is abhorrent. Like, you can't just declare a medical procedure harmful to one group of children and then say it's completely harmless to another group of children. You either stop it all because it's harmful, or you just, I don't know, follow the evidence. Please. 2 things, follow the money, follow the evidence. I wish more people would do that, especially when they're in the corridors of power. Christopher Bowles says, I love a good June reference. So do I. Jess Hunt says, luckily Saudi Arabia is bound to be really relaxed about Musk losing a load of their money. Yeah. That's a point. That's a very good buy. I hadn't even sort of considered that. Where's our money, Elon? I've just been spending it on rockets that don't launch and buying like social media things because I was off my tits on ketamine. We've all been there, haven't we? Why are you cutting my arms off? Power to the People says, sorry, but no one should be taking advice from J.K. Rowling and certainly not endorsements. I wouldn't take advice of J.K. Rowling for anything. Certainly not how to write a film. Anyone who saw the last few Fantastic Beasts movies going to testify. I'm not sure whether Roger is taking the piss or not, says Captain Bart Roberts. Roger's taking the piss for everyone in the chat. If anyone's getting upset about Roger, he's just making jokes. Billy says, Captain Scarlet, well worth a visit. The bicycle park shed had tools and a foot pump for those inclined that way. Mint. What? Captain Scarlet? What, the TV show? Jerry Anderson. Did I ever tell you I met Jerry Anderson many moons ago? Back in the year 2000, it was. The future it was.
The future.
In the future. No,
future all the way back in year 2000.
He came and gave a talk.
Hey, I'd been to year 2000, It was, pretty awesome. Well, I was trying to do a Busted reference there, but that failed. I can't remember his words.
So it's funny because Busted to me are just a bunch of kids, but to you, I think they're older than you. That's really
they're
weird.
older than me.
God, that's so weird. Like JD
Generational
Vance,
age gap.
JD Vance is 6 years younger than me. That I find that very, very disturbing. Anyway, Jerry Anderson, he came and he told this story about how he got his break at the BBC. And basically, he just set up an office with a telephone and said that he made TV shows. So they got in touch with him and said, we need you to make a TV show. So it wasn't it was ITV who got in touch. It was like ITC or something, one of the ITV channels or content providers. I don't know what they were called at the time. They basically got in touch and said, can you do a puppet show? And he just went, yeah. And put the phone down, and he said to his wife, Sylvia, his wife, he just said, right, we're going to do a puppet show. She went, we've never done puppets before. We've done any of this. We just got an office with a telephone. And he's like, yes, but we're going to do. So he basically faked it till he made it. A bit like the legend goes, Spielberg did, apparently. On Power to the People, who's been a member for 7 months, I'm going to give you a little super chat animation. Thank you. I've got to whip it. Ooh. Now you get Ollie very excited now. He's called Fluke. That's a great name. Dave W., it's a reference to my avatar and the locomotion in Shildon. Oh, yes, you are Captain Scarlet. Indestructible Captain Scarlet. Okay, now I get it. So it was great. Graham, did he pull a few strings at the studios? Oh, Jez.
Oh.
Very good. Very good. Should we end it on a moment of levity?
You could say he was a right puppet master.
Hey, but like I want to try and dump everyone over to that other place. What's it called? What's that other place called? Maximilian's feed. Yep. But there's nothing coming up. Is Max doing a live show tonight? Can someone check? Because I've tried to have a look while we were streaming, and he's not come up. He's not come up. So yeah, if anyone knows if Max is doing a stream tonight, please let me know. No, nothing's coming up.
Yeah, I can see it here. I can see it here.
Is it?
I can see it in my
okay.
feed. Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm gonna send everyone over there. Quick, do some filling in things while I'm sorting this out. Ollie, fill in.
Oh.
Tell a joke. Do some juggling. do a magic trick.
Juggle. Oh yeah, something again for people to watch out in the upcoming days is if you're interested about the whole NATO stuff and of course the European defence pact that is very sort of likely to come from it. Look for the Blenheim Palace meeting that's coming up. Stuff coming up. That will be, I think, determine a lot of things going forward, honestly. And I think we've been hearing a lot of good talk about our future relationship with Europe. Especially if Trump gets in, I think we're going to become very, very buddy with Europe. That is definite for sure. So watch out for that if you're going to sort of be on that. Yeah. By the way, if you want good news from America and you really sort of want a sort of a more sort of a channel that really sort of focuses on American politics, the Majority Report with Sam Cedar, I think I recommend it all the time. Very, very good if you want sort of good news online, lefty alternative news source on YouTube. If you want to hear more stuff about that's going on in Ukraine, then I definitely recommend someone we've got to get on at this channel at some point. A guy called Dylan Burns. He's actually out in Ukraine at the moment doing, doing sort of like mini documentaries about what's going on in Ukraine, documenting all the stuff. Go check out his channel if you want to sort of learn more about what's going on in Ukraine. He's very, very good at what he does as well. Sort of focuses very much so on foreign policy, but from an American point of view, whereas I come from it from a very UK point of view. So do go check out those two channels. They're very, very good. And of course, don't forget Max as well. And of course, everyone else that we have as well as part of Politics Social. Do go check them out as well. So, yep. Have I vamped enough?
Oh, yeah. No, I'd sorted it out ages ago, Ollie, but thanks for that. That's all good. That's all good. So I'm just going to let you know, tomorrow I'm back at 9:30 with Morning Brew. And then at 11:30, I think, is when the state opening of Parliament starts. We've got the royal procession, we've got the summons of the Commons, we've got the King's speech, etc. So the arrival of the King will be at 11:20. So we'll probably start the watch party about 11 o'clock. If you'd like to join me for that, I won't be doing it in a pirate voice, unfortunately, because I've got a bit of a cold. And then in the evening, I will be back again in the intersection with Rachel Harris, and we're going to be talking about West Streeting and the puberty blocker ban. Okay, so please join us for the smorgasbord of entertainment on this channel tomorrow. But just at the moment, I'd just like to say thank you so much to Ollie, Bowler Hatman, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, as always.
Putting us right in the state of the world. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks to all the super chats. Give us a like on the way out. Say hello to Max at the end of the credits. She'll be dumped over to Max's stream. So say hello to Max for us. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.